The moment I became Ethan Miller, the illegitimate son of the Miller family, I was being held down in a VIP lounge by Ashley Green's goons. Get on your knees and apologize to Derek Stone. Her perfectly manicured finger poked my forehead. You stained his designer suit. Can you even afford to replace it? The original Ethan had poured his heart and soul into his socialite girlfriend, only to be constantly unappreciated. For years, Ashley had allowed others to humiliate him with just a few words, leaving him bruised, broken, and utterly heartbroken before he finally gave up and left. Only then did Ashley realize her mistake and her supposed love, initiating her desperate attempts to win him back. But I was Ethan Miller, and I wasn't the old Ethan Miller. I broke free, twisting her wrist in my grasp. The bones ground audibly, and a cold smile stretched across my face. Apologize? I watched the color drain from her face, pain flashing in her eyes, and my smile widened. If your lackeys want to kneel, I won't stop them. But I, Ethan Miller, kneel only to heaven and earth, not to trash. The air in the VIP lounge froze. Ashley's face went chalk white from the pain, cold sweat trickling down her temples as she struggled and screamed. Ethan, who gave you the nerve to treat me like this? Let me go. Derek, who had been sprawled on a sofa like he owned the place, waiting for my apology, rushed over. He looked at me, then at Ashley. Ethan, are you insane? That's Ashley. You actually touched Ashley. There were two reasons for Derek's shock. First, Ashley was an heiress of the powerful Green family. Second, for years, the original Ethan wouldn't have dared to even speak a harsh word to Ashley, let alone twist a wrist. He was meek and insecure. Every time Ashley screamed or even got physical, his ingrained subservience made him flinch. Sometimes, even when it wasn't his fault, he'd be forced to apologize. Thinking about all that just made me incredibly irritated. I didn't let go. Instead, I tightened my grip, and Ashley's shriek ratcheted up an octave as her wrist visibly twisted. What's there to be afraid of? I sneered, my gaze sweeping over her contorted face. Now, do I still need to kneel? Ashley was in too much pain to speak. Beads of sweat formed on her pale forehead, and her eyes instantly reddened, whether from anger or agony. I couldn't tell. The others in the room exchanged uneasy glances, horror etched on their faces. After a long moment, I released her. Ashley, unbalanced, stumbled back into Derek's arms. Without a glance at the stunned group, I strode towards the lounge door. From behind me, Ashley's voice, weak but still commanding, echoed. Ethan, you dare walk out that door? If you do, you'll never step foot in the Green family home again. My hand involuntarily trembled. It was a lingering reflex from the original Ethan's consciousness. Pathetic, even in death, he was still afraid of this woman. I turned around. A flicker of triumph crossed Ashley's eyes. Come here. She summoned me like a pet. The command, however, annoyed Derek. He deliberately hugged Ashley tighter in front of me. Ash, he treated you like that. Why would you? His words were cut short. It's his birthday today. Oh, right. It was the original Ethan's 23rd birthday. He'd never wished for anything grand, just to spend it quietly with the woman he loved. But once again, he was disappointed. Ashley had ostensibly thrown him a birthday party to introduce him to her friends. Instead, her friends ignored him at the club, and Derek's lackeys sneered and mocked him. Someone pushed him, and the red wine in his hand accidentally spilled on Derek's suit. Ashley's face instantly changed. Derek, feigning nonchalance, said it was fine, but his friends chimed in about how the suit was Italian designer and worth a fortune. The Miller family was wealthy, but Ethan was an unwanted, illegitimate son. Less than a year out of college, his bank account was practically empty. I walked towards Ashley step by step. Derek made no attempt to hide the envy in his eyes. His lackeys and Ashley's friends, previously scared, now looked relieved and smug, their faces once again arrogant, disdainful, and mocking. Ashley, certain of her victory, began to speak. I've spoiled you rotten, made you think you could get away with anything. It's just kneeling and apologizing. Don't you usually have to kneel at home in the Miller household? Derek's suit is so expensive, and you can't afford to pay. I picked up a glass of wine from the table and, with a flick of my wrist, splashed it over her. The room fell silent. You could hear a pin drop. Ashley blinked, not quite processing what had happened. Then, her trembling finger pointed at me. "Ethan, you've got some nerve." I picked up a second glass. In Derek's wide, startled eyes, I unemotionally and without hesitation threw the wine at him. The pristine white suit was instantly soaked in a large yellow stain. "The first one doesn't count. Someone pushed me. This one I threw myself." I continued, "Send the bill to the Miller family. Whatever you get, that's yours. If you get nothing, it's because you're useless." With that, I slammed the door, leaving the chaos and Ashley's furious screams behind me. Outside the club, the evening breeze hit me, and the original Ethan's weak body struggled. My chest felt tight, and I coughed a few times, leaning down. I hailed a cab and gave the address of the original Ethan's rental apartment. It was on the ground floor of a rundown building in the old part of town, dark and damp. The moment I opened the door, a wave of mildew hit me. Ashley's presence was everywhere. Discarded hair ties, a cartoon throw pillow, and a wall plastered with their photos. In the pictures, Ethan smiled timidly, while Ashley always looked impatient. I frowned, decisively gathering everything related to Ashley and tossing it into the trash. Then, I pulled out Ethan's phone, blocked all of Ashley's and Derek's contact numbers, including the fake accounts Ashley used to spy on him. After that, I packed Ethan's identification, a small amount of cash, and a few changes of clothes into a backpack. This city, with Ashley, Derek, and the Miller family who treated the original Ethan like dirt, held nothing worth staying for. I would go anywhere as long as it was far away from this trash. Locking the door, I felt as if I heard the original Ethan's sigh of relief. The long-distance bus swayed, and the scenery outside the window gradually grew desolate. The original Ethan's body was terribly weak. Years of malnutrition and depression left me dizzy after only 2 hours. I hadn't checked the weather forecast before leaving, and suddenly, a heavy rainstorm broke out mid-journey. Fat raindrops hammered against the window, rattling loudly, and the temperature inside the bus dropped. I coughed, pulling my thin jacket tighter, but I was still cold. In Ethan's memories, he'd earned some money from his job, but never once bought himself a warm coat. All of it went to gifts for Ashley. The bus stopped at a rest stop. I got off, wanted to buy a bottle of water. I hadn't walked far when a violent wave of dizziness struck. My vision went black, and I collapsed. As consciousness faded, I thought I heard a very soft voice like spring rain on pavement, gentle and clear. "Are you okay?" I struggled to open my eyes. Through the rain, I saw a woman holding an umbrella, kneeling in front of me. She wore a simple linen dress, her hair pulled back neatly, revealing a smooth forehead. Her eyes were kind, her gaze calm. It was Chloe Adams, the woman I knew only from the novel's periphery. She came from a family as prominent as Ashley's, but couldn't stand the way Ashley, Derek, and her friends bullied Ethan. She had helped him a few times. She was also one of the catalysts for the worsening of Ethan's relationship with Ashley. The original Ethan, in his misguided attempt to be the perfect, devoted boyfriend, had avoided Chloe's help, fearing Ashley's baseless suspicions and Derek's meddling. He often faced the malice from Derek, Ashley, the Miller family, and his workplace all alone. In the end, severely depressed, he swallowed a year's worth of pills. "You have a fever. You shouldn't be out in the rain." Chloe tentatively asked, "Should I take you to a hospital?" My throat was too dry to speak, so I shook my head helplessly. Not only was I broke, but I also hated hospitals. Chloe understood, not pressing the issue. After a moment, she said, "My studio is nearby. I should have some fever reducer there." This time, I didn't refuse. She helped me to my feet. Her grip wasn't strong, but it was steady. Her umbrella remained tilted over me, leaving her own shoulders soaked, but she didn't seem to notice. We arrived at her studio. A fragrant blossom tree grew in the courtyard. The wind carried a faint, sweet scent. Inside, the studio was quiet, filled with the scents of ink and old paper. Bookshelves lined the walls, stacked with ancient texts and restoration tools. Chloe found me a clean cotton shirt and trousers. "You can change in the guest room. I'll get the fever reducer." With that, she turned and walked into another room. I sat on the bed in the guest room, looking at the loose shirt. A faint, clean scent of soap filled my nostrils, just like Chloe's own scent. This was the first time in both my lives I had felt such pure kindness. Before transmigrating, I was a rat in the gutter, constantly wary of plots, betrayals, and violence. After taking the medicine, I lay on the bed, listening to the soft sound from outside, my tense nerves gradually relaxing. Before I knew it, I fell asleep. It was a deep sleep, free of nightmares, free of being hunted, filled only with boundless peace. When I woke, the rain had stopped and the sky was faintly bright. I got up and left the guest room, catching the scent of oatmeal. In the living room, Chloe sat at a desk, meticulously restoring an ancient manuscript. She wore white gloves, her fingertips manipulating tiny repair tools with gentle, focused movements, completely unaware of my approach. In the lamplight, her profile was soft, her long lashes slightly lowered, fluttering like a butterfly's wings with each movement. I stood still, not speaking, afraid to disturb her. After a while, Chloe looked up. Seeing me, a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. Then, she offered a gentle smile. "You're awake? How are you feeling?" "Much better. Thank you." My voice was still a little hoarse. "The oatmeal is warming on the stove. I'll get you a bowl." She rose and headed to the kitchen. Sitting at the dining table, watching her busy figure, a strange emotion welled up inside me. It was unfamiliar, something I had never experienced in either of my lives. Chloe brought over a bowl of oatmeal and a small dish of pickles. "It's nothing fancy, but it should help settle your stomach." The oatmeal was soft and melted in my mouth. I ate slowly, savoring the rare warmth. "Why were you collapsed on the side of the road?" she asked softly. After a long silence, she quickly added, "If you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to." I thought for a moment, omitting the part about transmigrating. I simply said, "I had a fight with my family and wanted to get away for a while. Didn't expect my body to give out." Chloe didn't press further. She just nodded. "If you don't have anywhere to go right now, you can stay here for a bit. The room is the one you slept in last night. If you feel uncomfortable, you could help me around the studio. We can call it rent. My assistant is on vacation these past few days, and I'm a bit overwhelmed on my own." I froze. In that moment, I forgot I was the Miller family's illegitimate son. I only felt like Old Man 6, still living in the shadows. Outsiders called me Old Man 6 not because I was the sixth brother, but because I was ruthless and cunning, like a snake. Over time, the name stuck. In the small, dangerous world of the Vegas underworld, everyone feared me. Who would take an Old Man 6? Who dared to take an Old Man 6? "Why are you helping me?" I couldn't help but ask. Chloe smiled, her eyes clear. "It's nothing. Anyone with a conscience wouldn't leave you out there in your condition." Ah, in her eyes, I was merely poor Ethan Miller, the Miller family's illegitimate son. For the next few days, I stayed at Chloe's studio. I swept the courtyard, organized ancient books, cooked, and did laundry, taking on every chore I could. Chloe initially protested politely, but seeing my persistence, she eventually stopped refusing. I genuinely enjoyed this life. Simple, peaceful, no sudden betrayals, no Ashley's arrogance or indifference. When Chloe was restoring manuscripts, I, as her unofficial assistant, sat by, waiting for her instructions. Snapping out of it, I realized I'd been staring at her for too long. I abruptly stood up, my movements awkward. "I'll make some tea." Chloe, looking puzzled, glanced up. "Didn't you just make a cup?" Steam still rose from the teacup on the table. 2 meters away, I felt as if the heat had scalded me, a blush spreading rapidly from my ears to my neck. It wasn't until the second week after Ethan left that Ashley truly grasped the seriousness of the situation. On the first day Ethan was gone, she went to the hospital with Derek. Fury consumed her. She swore that when Ethan returned, she would make him pay. Just an apology wouldn't be enough. He suspected her and Derek, didn't he? Then she'd make his baseless accusation a reality. She'd get cozy with Derek right in front of him. She imagined the scene. She and Derek, heads together on the sofa. Ethan would return from grocery shopping, his face instantly draining of color, the bags falling to the floor. She'd ignore him, order him to cook, and ask Derek what he wanted for dinner. She was certain that once Derek left, Ethan would clench his fists, eyes red, and demand answers. But he'd never raise his voice at her, only tremble and speak in a hoarse whisper. Thinking this way, Ashley felt much better, and her bandaged wrist didn't ache as much. Just then, Derek pushed open the hospital room door. "Ash, I had Mrs. Watson make you some chicken soup and your favorite mini croissants." Ashley's expression was complex. She knew Derek liked her, but she had Ethan. Okay, thank Mrs. Watson for me. She drank the soup, ate the croissants. The next day, Ashley was discharged. Returning home, she instinctively called out, Ethan, but received no reply. He was probably back in his tiny, crappy studio apartment. It was always like this. Whenever things weren't to his liking, he'd run back to that cramped, dingy place. This annoyed Ashley. Once or twice it was a game, but after that, it was just ungrateful. She had been too lenient with him. Fine. This time, she would definitely break him of that habit. Once her hand felt better, Ashley went out with friends. Derek asked to join. Before she could refuse, her friends cheered him on. Ashley shook her head. This is a one-time thing. She drank quite a bit that night. Waking up with a pounding head, Derek's voice made her jump. Morning, Ash. Ashley turned, staring at the man in the bed, and asked in disbelief, Derek? Derek propped his head on his hand and smiled. What's wrong? Don't recognize me after one night? Calming herself, Ashley said, I drank too much last night. Don't make a big deal out of it. We're still friends. Derek disagreed. You sleep with your friends? Ashley lost her patience. What do you want, then? I already have Ethan. Derek's eyes narrowed. Break up with him. Impossible. Ashley threw out the words, got dressed, and went home. She would keep this secret forever, never letting anyone else know. A strange feeling washed over her. Ashley pulled out her phone and started typing. Ethan, get your ass back here now. Delete. Ethan, it's been a week. You should be back by now. Delete again. She thought for 2 seconds. Ethan, I won't bring up what happened before. I'll pay for Derek's suit. Just don't be so clumsy in the future. You know how hard we've worked to get here. Your background is a problem, and my family intends to arrange a marriage with the Stone family, so I had to get closer to Derek. But there was never anything between us. Stop being so paranoid. Come back, and I'll take you to apologize to Derek, and we'll put this behind us. I'll make sure he doesn't show up in front of you as much. How's that? Are you satisfied? As she hit send, Ashley thought this time I'm the one bending. Ethan will be so touched, he'll cry and crawl back to my feet. After a long wait, she looked down for his reply. Instead, a glaring red exclamation mark stabbed her eyes. Ashley sprang from the sofa, her lungs burning with rage. Ethan blocked her? Ethan actually dared to block her. The huge mansion echoed with her roar. Then, Ashley drove to the old apartment complex marked for demolition. She used her key to open the door, only to find that all her belongings were gone, including the photos Ethan had cherished. A wave of panic, unlike anything she'd ever felt, engulfed Ashley. Ethan must have hidden them. She muttered to herself, gradually calming down. As more words escaped her lips, her face regained its usual arrogance. Yes, that must be it. He loves me so much, he'd never throw away our pictures. Her slumped shoulders straightened. Ashley's gaze turned cold as she pulled out her phone. Find Ethan Miller's whereabouts. I want a report in 2 hours. Chloe's friend sent her a box of fresh mandarins, large and thin-skinned. Chloe smiled faintly. It was the same last year, but I always get so busy I forget to eat them. After a month, they'd all gone bad. I picked a large one, peeling it as I casually said, with me here, you'll finish them this year. Good, Chloe said, a smile in her voice. Carefully removing all the white pith, I offered a segment of mandarin to her lips. Chloe's eyes widened in surprise. Yesterday, I was still practically avoiding her. What was this? She quickly took off her gloves, but then she heard me say, when Brenda's here, she does this, doesn't she? Brenda was Chloe's assistant, currently on vacation. A couple of days ago, I'd asked Chloe for Brenda's contact information, thinking I might ask about manuscript restoration. Chloe had given it to me. Now, it seemed I had asked for more than just work-related questions. Yes, but our eyes met. My innocent, puppy dog eyes stared at her unblinkingly. The words caught her throat. One time won't hurt, right? Chloe lowered her head and accepted the mandarin segment into her mouth. Just then, the closed courtyard gate was violently pushed open from the outside. Seeing their interaction, Ashley's eyes burned with fury. Ethan, Chloe frowned. Ashley, as usual, had no manners. The person sitting in the chair stood up, blocking her view. Ashley's arrival filled me with a surge of dark displeasure. Killing intent roiled in my chest, my expression turning frosty. Ashley, approaching, paused. Just a moment ago, the man's face had held a relaxed warmth she hadn't seen in ages. Now, facing her, there was only cold indifference and undisguised hatred. Before Ashley could step into the living room, I strode out. My hand, like a hawk's claw, snatched the clueless woman by the shoulder and dragged her towards the gate. The excruciating pain made Ashley furious, screaming, "Ethan, let go of me." I said, "Let go." He wouldn't release her. Ashley decided to go all out. "I knew you were acting so tough this time. Turns out you're hooking up with that Adams woman. A cold fish like her. Can she even satisfy you, Ack?" Slamming the courtyard gate shut, I flung the noisy woman onto the ground. Ashley stumbled, caught by the bodyguard she'd brought. Her shoulder ached, her wrist ached. She couldn't cover one pain without neglecting the other. Her teeth ground in hatred. Ethan had never dared to treat her like this before. It had to be Chloe. Raising her eyes, Ashley was consumed by rage and jealousy. "When did you two hook up? Last month? Or was it last year at my grandmother's birthday gala?" The more she thought, the more convinced Ashley became. Last year, at her grandmother's 80th birthday, she caught them whispering together. Chloe had even walked over and pointedly told her, "If you're together, you should treat him better." Jealousy devoured Ashley, red veins tracing her bloodshot eyes. "Bitch, haven't I been good enough to you? You, an illegitimate son, lived worse than a dog in the Miller household. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't be where you are today." In the beginning, when the original Ethan was first brought back to the Miller family, Ashley had indeed been kind to him. Back then, Catherine, his stepmother, disliked him, and his supposed father, Richard, was rarely around. Kevin, his half-brother, tormented him in various ways, and the servants, seeing which way the wind blew, stole his belongings and skimped on his food. Ethan truly lived worse than Kevin's dog. Ashley's appearance was like a ray of light for young Ethan. He naturally fell in love with Ashley, the one who pulled him from the mud. But after she pulled him out, Ashley resented him for being covered in dirt. My thoughts returned to the present, and I sneered. "Thanks to you, I got to see the most shameless woman in the world. Keeping one guy at home, stringing another along outside. Ashley, you must have been having the time of your life, huh?" I moved closer, not missing the fleeting guilt in her eyes from being so close. It seemed Derek had succeeded. Derek, another childhood friend of Ashley's and the eldest son of his family, initially held no romantic interest in her. But when the original Ethan and Ashley got together, the cruel streak of a privileged rich boy emerged. He still didn't particularly like Ashley. He simply enjoyed the thrill of stealing the precious girlfriend of a struggling, illegitimate son. In the original novel, after sleeping with Ashley, Derek bragged to Ethan. His cherished lover being used as a topic of conversation caused the original Ethan to vomit blood. It was from that point his vitality rapidly declined. He lived out his remaining days like a zombie. My blunt words made Ashley's face flush. She raised her other, uninjured arm, her index finger trembling as it pointed at me. Who are you?" I took a step back, putting distance between myself and the repulsive woman. "I am Ethan Miller." Ashley shook her head. "No, you're not Ethan Miller. Ethan would never say such things to me." God, she's annoying. My eyebrows twisted into a knot. I stared at the woman's opening and closing mouth, my fingers tracing shapes. Should I scratch her face or sew her mouth shut? My hand instinctively slipped into my pocket, a habit of Old Man Six. Old Man Six pocket always held something you wouldn't expect. I felt a bamboo splinter. I found it in the trash Chloe had asked me to dispose of. Out of habit, I tucked it into my pocket. With the splinter in my hand, my tone softened like a harmless lamb. "Ash, what do you mean I'm not Ethan? I am Ethan. I've been waiting for you these past few days, waiting." Ashley, her emotions in turmoil, blinked. The handsome man slightly lowered his head, gently walking towards her, step by step, just like countless times in the past. No matter how hurtful her words, a drunken murmur of, "Ethan, I miss you," and he would rush to her side. The sharp end of the bamboo splinter suddenly aimed at the woman's beautiful face. Just then, the courtyard gate opened again. A familiar, gentle voice called out, "Ethan, are you still there?" After Ethan left, Chloe had completely lost the mood to continue her work. She stood up, Then, after a long moment, sat back down. They were a couple. What right did she have to interfere? Last year at Mrs. Green's birthday gala, she'd accidentally seen Derek's friends put something into a drink. Afterwards, that doctored drink ended up in Ethan's hand. She frowned. Derek was still the same, always resorting to petty, underhanded tricks. He and Kevin Miller were truly cut from the same cloth. She'd walked over, warned Ethan about the drink, and even asked if he wanted to tell Ashley, offering to be a witness. He'd smiled bitterly. She won't believe it. She said no more. In their social circle, love was almost a myth, which was why Ethan and Ashley's turbulent relationship had been a constant source of gossip. Ethan was nothing like his father, and even less like his stepmother. He must have resembled his mother, Sarah Jenkins, Richard's legendary first love. Chloe sighed. What a shame. If Sarah Jenkins hadn't died, Ethan would never have entered the Miller family's toxic environment. She waited and waited, but the courtyard gate didn't open again. Chloe grew restless. Had Ethan left? Besides a sense of loss, a vague, inexplicable melancholy settled over her. They had worked together for so long. He should at least say goodbye if he left, shouldn't he? I hadn't expected Chloe to come out. My hand went behind my back, the tip of the bamboo splinter still untended, digging into my skin. Ashley, furious at being interrupted, stepped forward, placing herself between us, and aggressively demanded, "Chloe Adams, what are you doing out here?" "Oh, I thought Ethan had left with you." Chloe glanced at me as she spoke. I tightened my grip on the bamboo splinter, forcing a smile that was worse than a grimace. "No, if I were leaving, I'd tell you." The barely suppressed flames of Ashley's anger flared again. They were flirting right in front of her. What had they been doing all the time she hadn't been able to find him? She didn't dare think. The mere thought made Ashley want to kill the hypocritical woman in front of her. "Chloe Adams, you're harboring my man and you have the nerve to show your face? Has your family grown tired of living in peace?" Chloe's eyes turned cold. "Miss Green, you have a lot of nerve. When did Westport become your family's territory?" Her eyes were mocking, devoid of her usual calm. If someone as foolish and utterly clueless as you could control Westport, then this city would be nothing more than a sandcastle built by a 3-year-old. Called stupid in such a roundabout way, Ashley was speechless with rage. Instinctively, she turned, seeking Ethan's help. But she saw her boyfriend gazing at the woman standing at the courtyard gate with an expression of utter devotion. A hand struck. The ingrained instinct in my bones made me seize the attacker's hand and twist it back. "Ah!" Ashley screamed. Ashley, with a broken bone, was rushed to the hospital by her bodyguards. I returned to the courtyard, slipping into the kitchen to clean the wound on my hand. A knock came at the kitchen door. "Ethan, are you okay?" The broken bone belonged to that idiotic Ashley. I was perfectly fine. I pressed a folded paper towel to the wound and opened the door, stepping out. "Yeah, I'm good." Chloe's peripheral vision flicked behind me. She probably noticed. This made me tense. After a long moment, she said, "You must be hungry. I'll make dinner tonight." 3 dishes and a soup. I ate with satisfaction. The little pain in my right palm had long vanished without a trace. I wanted to wash the dishes, but she stood up and said, "I'll do it." She had noticed. I hesitated, wondering whether to tell her that I wasn't really hurting. Because I had suffered wounds 100 times worse, a bamboo splinter barely registered. Old Man Six would have just gripped his iron bar tighter, swinging it harder at someone's head. Emerging from the kitchen, Chloe saw me on the sofa, peeling a mandarin with an intense focus, as if it were the most important task in the world. She approached. I quickly looked up, pushing the peeled mandarin towards her. "It's sweet." She took a segment, not eating it, but looking at me. "Ethan, do you remember meeting once last year?" My heart skipped a beat. My left hand clenched the mandarin peel. She was testing me. I suddenly didn't know what to do. If it were anyone else, I'd sneer, look up, curse first, and then react according to the situation. I remember, I heard myself say. That afternoon, Chloe took me to a hospital for a comprehensive checkup. I didn't like hospitals. Other people went to hospitals to cling to life, but I was nearly killed in one. "What's wrong?" Chloe knelt, her gaze fixed on my pale face as I sat in the chair. The man who had twisted Ashley's arm with his bare hands that morning withered the moment he entered the hospital. After careful observation, Chloe confirmed one thing. Ethan was afraid of hospitals. What had he done? She knew only a little about medicine, and besides, she had brought me for a mental health check. She suspected Ethan had developed a second personality. Suppressing the fear in my heart, I murmured 2 words. It's nothing. If you don't mind, Chloe extended a hand. You can hold on to me. You can hold on to me. That sentence would echo in my mind for the rest of my life, the sweetest words I had ever heard. I grabbed Chloe's hand, gripping it very tightly, but she only frowned slightly and said nothing. I gripped even harder. Derek and Ashley weren't good people. I never was either. The entire afternoon of examinations passed by easily and safely with Chloe by my side. I sat in the hallway waiting. Chloe was talking to the doctor in the consultation room. Ethan, I pretended not to hear. Footsteps approached. Derek bent down. Ethan, are you here to see Ash? Why aren't you going in? I looked up, replying concisely, no. I thought I had made myself clear. I detested Ashley, I detested Derek, I detested all of them. I wish they would disappear from my sight forever. But some people just insist on being idiots. Are you not feeling well? What's wrong? My family has invested in this hospital. I can introduce you to a chief doctor. I didn't like being looked down upon. So, I stood up, looking down at Derek, who was half a head shorter than me. No need. You couldn't just kill people in a hospital. I walked away and sat on another bench. Derek turned sideways, his narrow eyes squinting. Interesting. Was this a protective, secondary personality developed by the poor guy who'd been bullied too much? The consultation room door opened. Chloe and the psychiatrist emerged. Derek greeted first. Good to see you, Chloe. Chloe frowned, then visibly relaxed when she spotted me on a distant bench. She didn't speak, merely giving a polite, distant nod. Then, without a second's delay, she walked towards me. Let's go. Okay. Ignoring Derek's sticky gaze, Chloe and I turned and left the hospital. The Miller family found me on the 3rd day. The Miller family butler, acting high and mighty like a master, commanded me to return. Get lost, I said. He stiffened, then quickly recovered. Mr. Ethan, this is Mrs. Miller's order. I threw a yellow-green mandarin peel at his feet and coldly spoke again. Can't you understand plain English? The butler, fuming, left, threatening Mr. Ethan, be careful, Mrs. Miller doesn't lock you up again. The Miller family had a detention room, specifically prepared for its masters. Richard occasionally went in to meditate, but Ethan, supposedly the eldest son, had been forcibly confined there countless times for various reasons. The longest stretch was 2 days and a night. The small, windowless, pitch-black, soundproof room was more torturous than any prison. It was after that time that Ethan emerged timid and cowering, afraid to contradict anyone in the family, not even the servants. I stood up and walked to the courtyard gate. The butler, who hadn't gone far, turned around, barely concealing his smugness. I told you, Mr. Ethan. Bang! I slammed the iron courtyard gate shut and locked it with a sharp click. Outside, the man's forehead pulsed with anger, repeating good 3 times. I still went back to the Miller household. If I didn't, they would keep coming for me. I didn't care for myself, but I didn't want Chloe to be bothered. At the Miller estate, no one greeted me, nor did anyone show a hint of joy. Kevin Miller's eyes darted around. I heard you've become quite the cook these past 2 years. So, lunch is on you today. Old man Six could cook. In a Vegas underworld, both takeout and dining out were expensive. The original Ethan's cooking was also excellent, honed by catering to Ashley's picky palate. I smiled. Yes. What do you want to eat? Without waiting for his reply, I added, I'm very good at roasting. Kevin, sitting on the sofa, propped his chin in his hand. You only know how to roast. His expression was disdainful, and his words held no respect for his older brother. The surrounding servants were used to it. No one suggested that Mr. Ethan shouldn't be bothered with cooking. Maintaining my smile, I said, I also know how to grill and deep fry. Kevin ordered a dozen dishes. I didn't argue, just nodded and walked into the kitchen. I looked around, finally finding a meat cleaver in a drawer. I walked out, cleaver in hand. The servants, accustomed to watching the drama unfold, froze for a moment, unsure what the humble Mr. Ethan was doing with an axe. Kevin, engrossed in his phone, only felt a brute force restrain him. He had no time to react before he was pressed against the coffee table. One hand pinned his head, the other, gripping the cleaver, swung hard his hand. Clang, crack. The sudden sounds startled everyone. Catherine Miller, coming down from the second floor, stared at the scene in disbelief. The cleaver had gone awry. It hadn't severed Kevin's hand, but had carved a deep crack in the expensive marble coffee table. My entire arm tingled from the recoil. Kevin peed his pants, then shrieked for his mother. Mom, Ethan's crazy. Help me. The security guard from outside swarmed in. I held the cleaver to the throat of the coward beneath me. You could try. See if you're faster, or my cleaver is. The security guards and servants all backed away. Catherine was both shocked and enraged, her eyes rolling back. She swayed, caught by a quick-thinking servant. Pointing at me, she screamed, "You've gone mad. Absolutely mad. We feed you, we house you, and you dare to harm my son in our own home." I tilted my head and smiled. Thanks for the compliment. Unable to maintain her elegant facade any longer, Catherine clutched her forehead and stepped back. She hissed, "Call your father. Hurry." 20 minutes later, Richard Miller stormed home. The original Ethan had been bullied by Kevin and the servants, and his father never showed up. The original Ethan had been framed for stealing Catherine's jewelry and locked in the detention room by Catherine without question, and his father never showed up. Locked in that room for 2 days and a night, the original Ethan cried, pleaded, trembled in fear, screamed in despair, his fingernails tearing at the walls until his fingers bled. And his father still never showed up. But his spoiled youngest son wets himself, and he's back. "You degenerate. What are you doing?" That was the line I was waiting for. I lowered my head, moving the cleaver from Kevin's neck to his arm. "Your son wants me to cook for him. I'm a man who believes in fresh ingredients. He wants roasted, grilled, and deep-fried. No problem. This hand can be roasted, this arm grilled, and this plump leg deep-fried." Catherine's face instantly went ashen. The more timid servants vomited on the spot. Richard trembled with rage, pointing at me and yelling, "You rebellious child. He's your brother. My mother only had me. Where do I get a brother from? You have the nerve to mention your mother? Your mother was a renowned lady. If she saw you like this, she'd die of anger." My face darkened instantly. "Shut up." The cleaver chopped down on the marble coffee table again. "You're the one who has no right to mention her. Richard Miller." My cleaver pointed at him. "Do you dare to talk about what happened all those years ago?" Outsiders said Sarah Jenkins was a pretentious social climber, exposed by Mrs. Miller as a manipulative gold digger. Even pregnant, she was unfit to marry into the Miller family. The truth was, the Jenkins family was esteemed, and Sarah Jenkins was both brilliant and beautiful. Richard fell in love at first sight and pursued her relentlessly. Sarah Jenkins was moved, and they had a loving relationship. But the seemingly amiable Mrs. Miller could not tolerate her son loving another woman more than his own mother. Richard and Sarah Jenkins were about to be married when Mrs. Miller, who had initially been polite to Sarah Jenkins, suddenly changed her tune, threatening to die if Richard didn't break up with her. Richard caved. Sarah Jenkins, already pregnant, left heartbroken. In the later parts of the novel, it was revealed that Mrs. Miller, on her deathbed, confessed that she had been overcome by jealousy, harming such a wonderful woman. The Miller family, from top to bottom, was trash. Big trash spawned little trash, and little trash spawned even smaller trash. The cleaver pressed against Kevin's face. I slowly said, "I came back for one thing, and one thing only. Give me that, and from then on, I, Ethan Jenkins, will be done with you and with the Miller family forever." "You won't give it?" I sneered. "I don't mind making a full gourmet spread out of Kevin Miller." "What do you want?" Richard asked, pressing his temples wearily. "The birth certificate." Richard looked up, puzzled. "What do you need the birth certificate for?" He quickly remembered something, and his face filled with indignation. "Is getting married to Ashley worth all this drama? How have I taught you all these years?" "Old people talk too much," I interrupted impatiently. "I need the birth certificate to change my name." The original Ethan's name, Sun, seek/search, meaning seek or search, was given by his mother, Sarah Jenkins. This character not only permeated Ethan's life, but was also a lingering, unresolved regret for Sarah Jenkins until her death. In the original novel, Ethan didn't die. After he swallowed the entire bottle of pills, Ashley, feeling an ominous premonition, frantically searched for him. Ethan was saved. Ashley cried hysterically. Derek, Catherine, and Kevin expressed remorse. And his father, Richard, with red-rimmed eyes, declared that no one would ever bully him again. It was as if, overnight, everyone suddenly loved him. But had Ethan truly found what he was seeking? I wanted to change my name. I didn't want to be called Ethan Miller. After 2 days of thought, I decided to only change my surname, keeping my first name. Ethan Miller hadn't found anything, but Ethan Jenkins might. Richard's face contorted with fury, even more so than when he first entered the mansion and saw his beloved younger son pinned to the coffee table. Nonsense. I had anticipated this, but I wasn't here to negotiate. I was here to inform. My patience was exhausted. My cleaver chopped down a third time. Kevin's screams pierced the sky. Leaving the Miller mansion, I saw Brenda and a young man. I narrowed my eyes. Brenda introduced him. Leo Adams, Chloe's brother. Her actual brother. I reined in my hostility, forced a smile, and extended my hand. Nice to meet you. I'm Ethan Jenkins. Leo raised an eyebrow, shaking my blood-splattered hand. Sitting in Leo's car, Brenda chattered nonstop. She first said that the commotion from the Miller house could be heard from a distance. She bet that within 2 days, the Miller family will be trending news on Westport social media. Then she tapped her head, suddenly saying, "Oh, my memory." She turned from the passenger seat. "Ethan, no. Ethan Jenkins, Chloe sent us. After you left, she was so worried. Couldn't focus on work, wouldn't eat, just sat there staring into space." Although I had guessed as much, I still asked, "Really?" Leo, driving, scoffed. "She told me you were sick, and I didn't believe it. Thought you were faking to trick that softie. Now, it looks like you're not just sick, but seriously ill." "Ow, why'd you kick me?" He yelped, kicked again, and glared fiercely. "If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. No one thinks you're a mute." I had only been away from the small courtyard for half a day, but it felt like a century. The faces of those people flashed quickly before my eyes. In the end, only one remained, Chloe's. "I'm back," I said softly. When I was Ethan Miller, Richard ignored me. Now that I was Ethan Jenkins, he was chasing after me. One old jerk. After Richard came to the studio for the third time and was met with a closed door for the third time, he lost his temper. He yelled outside, "Ethan, I'm your father. We can disown each other," I said calmly. Outside, Richard grew even angrier. "What kind of talk is that? Even if Kevin bullied you before," he was young and naive, "can't you, as his older brother, be a little more understanding?" "No. All right, we'll talk about Kevin's matter later. For now, come home with me. Get lost. Ethan, all those servants who disrespected you, I've dealt with them all. What more do you want? I want you, old man, to disappear from my sight forever." If I wasn't in front of Chloe, I would have sewn the old man's mouth shut long ago. He was making too much noise. No matter what he said, I just wouldn't open the door. After 2 hours, Richard left in a huff. The world grew quiet. I turned around. 2 people, holding watermelons, stared at me with all 4 eyes. "Where did you get the watermelon?" "Brenda. Leo had someone buy it." I frowned. Richard had blocked the gate. No one could have entered. Leo spat out a watermelon seed and grinned. He climbed up to the second-floor window. Leo continued, "This sickness of yours is great, really fantastic. You used to be so pathetic. Because you were such a wimp, we never hung out with you. If you had even a third of this guts back then, Kevin wouldn't have walked all over you for 15 years, and you wouldn't have had 0 friends in our circle." He was kicked by Brenda beside him. "Can't you eat without running your mouth?" Leo insisted on staying at the studio. All day, he tried to convince me to go out and have fun. Clubs, racing, horseback riding. He said he could take me to all of them, claiming it was much more interesting than dealing with Chloe's old, dead stuff. Old Man Six had done all those things. After making a name for myself, I had everything, and then some. It was boring. I was sick of it. "You're really not coming?" Leo asked again. I directly refused. "No." He then asked Brenda, "Brenda, are you coming?" Brenda shook her head. "Me neither. Last time you took me street racing, I nearly had a heart attack." "Fine." Leo left alone, disappointed. Not long after, Brenda said she was going grocery shopping and left too. Only Chloe and I remained in the studio. Sitting beside her, I gazed at her almost greedily. Leo had noticed my feelings for her and had even spilled details about Chloe's past blind dates. He said those men described Chloe as pretty, but boring like a stagnant pool. I asked him who they were, secretly contemplating which of their eyes to pluck out. Leo shook his head. Don't go there, it's creepy. Don't worry, I already had someone talk to them. Chloe wasn't a stagnant pool. She was the spring water beneath the fragrant blossoms. There was no woman in this world kinder, more thoughtful, or more understanding than her. Do I have something on my face? Noticing my unwavering gaze, Chloe couldn't help but tease. I startled, quickly averting my eyes and looking down. And no, word spread that I had dissociative identity disorder. The first one to lose it was Ashley. She came back again, but this time, she wasn't arrogant or rude. She offered to forgive my supposed unclear relationship with Chloe, willing to take me to the hospital for treatment and stay with me until I recovered. The one who needs to go to the hospital for treatment is you, Ashley. Your delusions are severe. With that, I stood up and started to leave. The woman lunged, embracing me. Ethan, it's me. How could you forget all our memories? The person you love most in this world is me. Only me, not Chloe Adams. Others in the coffee shop glanced over. Someone pulled out a phone. Agitation and murderous intent surged. My arm went behind me, and I unhesitatingly yanked the woman's hair. Ashley shrieked. I tore her off me, threw her to the floor, and raised my foot to step on her. A voice cut through the air. Ethan Jenkins. I quickly pulled back my foot, standing there utterly lost. Had she seen? Would she hate me? Women liked powerful men, but they didn't want an uncontrollable killing machine. That's what a woman about to be shot by Old Man Six had said before she died. She said people like me didn't understand love and didn't deserve it. Stop taking pictures, stop it. Brenda rushed in, trying to stop the people with phones. Chloe led me out of the coffee shop. Her hand was soft and dry, unlike mine, cold and clammy. She held my hand all the way back to the small courtyard, 5 kilometers away. Time passed so quickly. In the blink of an eye, with my heart still pounding in my ears, we arrived. Chloe released my hand. She turned, startled. Many years later, she would still remember this scene. Unlike Leo, who ran all over the place, she preferred quiet activities. Consequently, she wasn't very athletic. Walking 5 kilometers had left her dizzy with exhaustion. I'll get you a glass of water, she thought. But the words died in her throat, her mind suddenly blank. Beneath the fragrant blossom tree, I, like a child, hung my head, tears streaming down my face. My round eyes held an intense sorrow she had never witnessed. It was Chloe's first time seeing someone cry like this. Tears poured silently, threatening to drown me, yet I made no sound. Blossoms drifted down from the tree, landing on my head. She reached out, saying, "Don't move, I'll get them off." Her hand gently removed a tiny blossom. Her other arm, equally firm, enveloped me. "It's okay now. You're home." After Kevin Miller's hand healed, I stepped through the Miller Mansion's doors for the second time. The servants, fearful and respectful, brought tea. Catherine still disliked me, but even with her face flushed purple, she dared not say a word. Richard served me food. "Eat more. You're looking good. You've gained weight." The original Ethan lived in the sprawling Miller estate from age 8 to 22, suffering from severe malnutrition, standing at 6 feet 1, but weighing less than 120 pounds. In Chloe's small studio, vegetables, meat, and fruit were always plentiful. In just over 2 months, I had gained 30 pounds. After eating, I went up to the 3rd floor room. The original Ethan had initially lived on the 2nd floor when he was first brought home, but within a few years, Catherine found an excuse to move him to the 3rd floor storage room. His former room on the 2nd floor had been converted into Kevin's computer room, even though the Miller house had plenty of other rooms. Coming down from the 3rd floor, Richard stood at the bottom of the stairs, his gaze complex. After a long moment, he said with a hint of bitterness, "Catherine went too far." He reached out to take my backpack, but I dodged him. "Don't touch me. You're dirty." Richard's arm hung awkwardly in the air. As I descended, a man in a sharp suit respectfully said, "Mr. Jenkins, this is the share transfer agreement for Miller Industries." I quickly scanned it. 4%, worth over $3 billion. This would have been impossible before. What do I have to do for it? Change my name back? Or kneel and call you dad and serve your wife and son? Richard's jowls quivered. After a long silence, he rubbed his temples, frustrated. There's no lasting animosity between father and son. Do you really need to be so aggressive? The Ethan Miller who wasn't aggressive is dead. Getting over $3 billion without doing anything? I didn't believe such a good thing would fall into my lap. I called Leo Adams. Despite his playful nature, he was supposedly a senior executive at the Adams Family Company, not just a figurehead. He told me to take pictures and send them to him. The lawyer tried to object, but I shot him a glance, and Richard waved his hand. Let him take pictures. I took the photos and sent them to Leo. 5 minutes later, he called. No problem. Good for you. My dad never gave me that much. I signed and fingerprinted the documents. Catherine and Kevin watched the entire process. Kevin's eyes were bloodshot with jealousy. He had never doubted his father's favoritism towards him, but now he felt utterly betrayed. Leaving the Miller mansion, the sun shone brightly, and I felt great. I found a day to burn all of Ethan Miller's belongings under the fragrant blossom tree in the small courtyard. Some things wouldn't burn, so I buried them along with a small basin of ashes in the ground. 2 years later, Chloe and I got married. Visiting the Adams family, Leo clapped me on the shoulder, saying in a friendly way, we all thought Chloe, my sister, was a reincarnated nun, always cooped up with those hundreds, thousands-year-old things. My mom forced her on blind dates, but she'd take one sip of coffee and leave. Sometimes she wouldn't even take a sip. Why waste time on trash? I asked. Leo choked. Your tongue is still as sharp as ever. You two are quite alike in that regard. Just be careful when you're kissing. Don't poison each other. Leo was glared at by his father. His mother covered her mouth, laughing. It's wonderful, actually. Chloe's happy, and Leo gets along with him. The Adams family prepared a dowry for Chloe worth over $100 million. I wanted to transfer my Miller Industries shares to her as a wedding gift, but she refused. We owned several properties, but our favorite was the small courtyard with the fragrant blossom tree. She sorted and restored ancient books while I sat beside her, assisting, or sometimes lay with my head in her lap, playing with her long hair. At these times, she would usually sigh, helplessly stop her work, pick up the fruit bowl, and press a grape I had washed in my mouth. I would hold the grape, gazing up at her without a word, and she would subtly blush. Then, she would raise her hand and cover my eyes. News of Ashley and Derek trickled in intermittently from others. Ashley had become obsessed with trying to cure me. One rainy night, I squatted on the ground, hands in my pockets, looking down at the disheveled woman crawling in the mud. I'm not Ethan Miller. Your Ethan Miller was played to death by you. His last thoughts weren't of you, but of Sarah Jenkins. I had fabricated the words, but they had a basis. Ashley went completely insane. She desperately sought spiritualists and psychics, wanting Ethan's soul to return. But she was tricked by her closest associates and a charlatan, losing all the money in her bank accounts. The Green family, utterly disappointed, forced her into an arranged marriage with a wealthy philanderer who was on his second divorce. He was not Derek. Derek, for some reason, became obsessed with men, specifically men who bore some resemblance to me. Rumors slowly spread in their circle that his true motive for approaching Ashley was to get to me. It sickened me. So, I sent him a man. In the middle of the night, Derek was rushed to the emergency room with severe bleeding, and his reputation was completely ruined. Ashley, at least, had someone to marry, but no one prominent in Westport would even look at him. The Stone family sent him abroad. Before boarding his flight, he used someone else's phone to call me. Ethan, I hate you. I curled my lips. Thanks, Mr. Stone, but I'm Ethan Jenkins. And then there was Kevin Miller. He still held a grudge after I chopped off his finger in public. Unable to beat me himself, he hired thugs to get me. I dealt with the thugs first, then took one of their knives and found Kevin. The coward wet himself again. It was a civilized society. I couldn't actually kill him. So I used a method Leo taught me. I recorded it. I sent the video to Richard Miller, telling him to control his son. The troublesome Kevin was thrown into Miller Industries to gain experience. But since childhood, he had only known how to party or how to humiliate Ethan. Managing a company, he made a complete mess. He caused Miller Industries to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. Richard, infuriated to the point of a heart attack, fired him, cruelly cutting off his credit cards. Kevin went home to cry to his mother. Richard remembered me. I thought about it and went. I didn't have much formal education, but I could try managing people. At the peak of Old Man 6 power, the year I transmigrated, I had over 800 people under me. Men, women, old, and young. However, Old Man 6 methods were very violent. Ethan Jenkins couldn't use those. I patiently asked my brother-in-law for advice. Leo stroked his chin. You could ask Chloe. She knows this stuff too. She just doesn't want to be in the company. You're her husband. She has to teach you even if she doesn't want to. After 2 days of agonizing, I still couldn't bring myself to ask my wife. She was incredibly intelligent, with dual bachelor's degrees and a master's. But I knew she preferred restoring ancient books to managing a company. Reluctantly, I approached my brother-in-law again. Leo, ruffle his hair. Seriously, are you just going to squeeze me dry? You teach me management. I'll teach you how to chase women. Leo scoffed. Please, I'm rich and handsome. Women flock to me. Okay. Chase Brenda, I said deadpan. Leo stuttered. After a long moment, I'm not interested in Brenda. She's a total brawler. Who'd like a woman like that? Teaching you is because we're buddies. So where should we start? After a week of nonstop work, I collapsed on the sofa at home. A cup of warm, sweet-smelling water was offered to me. I started to sit up to take it. Don't move. I'll help. Chloe's other hand settled on my nape. I immediately tilted my head like a puppy, nuzzling her palm before opening my mouth to drink. The water was sweet, with honey added. After drinking, I felt invigorated. I stared at the woman in front of me, surveying her repeatedly. I took her hand and gently swayed it. Wifey. She curved her lips. Not tired. I nodded, then shook my head, smiling foolishly. Not tired when I see you. At the company, whenever those jerks made me so angry I wanted to kick them, a gentle, serene face would flash in my mind, and my anger would dissipate, my foot retracting. To prove myself, I bent down, scooped her up, and even gave a little bounce. Chloe was slightly startled. Did you drink? She asked, quickly wrapping her arms around my neck. I laughed in reply, no, I don't drink that stuff. It doesn't taste good. Your honey pomelo tea is much better. Old Man 6 had to drink to survive. But now, Ethan Jenkins didn't have to. Chloe was carried upstairs by me to our bedroom. When we first met, she was slender, barely 5'7" and under 100 pounds, often forgetting to eat because she was so busy. Before I joined Miller Industries, I would stand at her desk with a plate of cooked food. She would sigh, reluctantly stopping her work. I gained weight, and so did she. I gained 30 pounds. She gained 15. The day we visited the Addams family, she came downstairs in a Chong Sam, her graceful figure making me swallow hard. Wifey, you smell so good. Chloe hugged me. You've said that many times. But you do smell good. It's strange. We use the same skincare products, so why don't I smell good? I mumbled, burying my head deeper in her neck, inhaling her sweet fragrance. My large hand curved around her slender waist. I tilted my head and kissed her soft lips. Wifey, I love you so much, love you to death. Scented blossoms fill the grand old rooms, moonlight streams, a silken quilt in bloom. Passion ignites, her precious form I hold. My heart throbs, with tender words, a love untold. Long nights entwined, old sorrows fade away, deep affection blurs my mind. In love I sweetly stray. Wind carries my yearning, dawn to dusky light, deep loyalty, forever by her side, day and night.